Hey there, Matrix. Welcome to Educate. In this video, we'll be doing the sugarcane farming questions galore. In our previous video, we've already done other galores, and I strongly recommend that you watch my video introducing sugarcane farming. Stay tuned. So let us start with KZN September 2025. This is the trial paper, and we're doing 2.3 that says here the infographic below shows sugarcane farming in South Africa. Now here you are given an infographic. There is a graph there and some information. That's why we call it an infographic, in case you didn't know. Yes. So here they say sugarcane farming in South Africa, and it's written here KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. So you know, guys, that the two major provinces that contribute the most to sugarcane farming, it is KZN and Mpumalanga province in South Africa. So now we are given here some information here in the second block. If you can just kind of look at it, this is 23,954 small scale farmers. It's written small scale farmers here. So let me just zoom in the infographic for you to see. So this is 23,954 small scale farmers, and then underneath it's written here 1,079 large scale farmers. So here we are given the number of small scale and large scale farmers. Small scale farmers, you can see that they are more than large scale farmers, right? Of course. And then on the third box, or on the third block, we are given another information again, that we have got 65,000 direct jobs. So these are jobs that are created by the sugarcane farming in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. And then it's written here further, 11% of the total agricultural workforce in South Africa. So basically, the workforce that are doing sugarcane farming, or the people that are farming sugarcane, they constitute 11% of the total agricultural workforce. So including all the people who are farming other things such as maize and livestock farming, 11% of them are doing sugarcane farming. And then now it's written here 270 indirect jobs. So here, if you zoom in perfectly in the on this infographic, it says 65,000 direct jobs that are being created and 270,000 indirect jobs that are being created. And then next to that, we do have got a graph that is showing a production in 1,000 metric tons. Basically showing how the production has been over the years. I don't know if you can see this perfectly, but to those who are writing the paper, they could see here that this is 2000 to 2001, and then the last year here is 2022 to 2023. So you can see that here there's kind of a drop. That's something that is worrying, because it's written here sugarcane production from 2000 until 2023, right? So the worrying thing is just there is a bit of a drop in the sugarcane production. You can see that at first it was so high in 2000, but now in 2023 it was a bit low. So now let's go and attempt to answer these questions. Now, according to the question, the first question that we have here, it says here, according to the infographic, how many direct jobs are created by sugarcane farming in KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga? Guys, here they said according to the infographic. So here you are supposed to give the answer based on what you have read on the infographic. So according to the infographic, we have seen something about jobs. We have seen direct jobs and indirect jobs. If you remember perfectly, at this block here, it showed direct jobs, which are 65,000 direct jobs, and then we have 270,000 indirect jobs. So the moment the question comes and says, according to the infographic, you need to refer to the provided infographic. So here in 2.3.1, we are going to say that a 65,000, because they say the indirect jobs, right? So this is 65,000. This is 65,000 indirect jobs that are being created by this sugarcane farming, or in the sugarcane farming industry. So now they say 2.3.2, there is a general decrease. Generally, there is a general decrease in sugarcane production in South Africa. As we've already analyzed from the graph before even getting to the question, there is a general decrease of sugarcane production. How do we see that? You see this graph here is moving from 2000 to 2023, if you can look at where the graph starts, it starts at around 4,000 tons at a higher, like the graph is up there, right? But then at the end in 2023, it is way lower. So there is a general drop, or there is a general decrease. So there is a general drop, or you can say that there is a general, there's a general decrease in sugarcane production in South Africa. Now they say explain at least one factor that would contribute towards this decrease. What would make people to start farming sugarcane less? That is the question, because here there's a decrease in sugarcane production, right? People are no longer farming a lot of sugarcane as before. Actually, before they could farm up to 4,000 tons of sugarcane and probably process them and make some sugar. Some of it was exported and whatnot. But now it has dropped all the way up to around, but up to lower numbers basically. So the number, or basically the amount of sugarcane that is being produced, is now lower. What can cause people to produce less sugarcane? Try to pause the video and try to answer on your own. But basically the idea here is that we will look for the factors that hinder sugarcane production, because here we are focusing on what? We are focusing on the decrease in sugarcane production. So what would hinder, or what would slow down the sugarcane production in South Africa? We need to look at all of those factors. You need to remember one of the things that is involved, the main thing that is involved in sugarcane production, it is the production costs. I told you guys that I've got a sugarcane farm, right? We experience a lot of costs as sugarcane farmers, basically. We experience a lot of costs. We have to buy fertilizers, we have to buy all of those, we have to invest in labor as well. Okay, although I have cheap labor in my farm, but basically I do have to invest in labor. So as the cost of living is becoming very high in South Africa, the cost for me to produce sugarcane will also be high. The cost of a fertilizer in 2000 was way less expensive. That's when my sugarcane farm was the most successful then. But now, even my sugarcane farm has had a decrease because of that. So basically, there's the increase in the production cost. So an increase in production cost. You can see here the question says 1 times 2. It means this is one answer for 2 marks. So you must try and kind of explain for 2 marks. So there is an increase in the sugarcane production costs. Sugarcane production costs. Sugarcane production costs such as what? You need to mention them, at least mention examples, because you cannot just get 2 marks by saying there's an increase in production costs. There's an increase in sugarcane production costs, such as the high cost of buying fertilizer, or you can say such as the high cost of getting some labor, because due to inflation and the prices rising each and every day, people actually start doing some labor strikes if they are getting low payments because they cannot afford to do things anymore. So we have to kind of increase their salary. Yeah, that's part of the production cost that you can mention. Yes. So basically, there is an increase in production costs, such as what? Such as the cost of fertilizers. You can mention other examples as well. So here it says only one, but I'll give you an extra one, probably something that would help you. Basically, you know that for you to be able to do this whole sugarcane farming thing, you need some land. Back then in the day, the land was accessible, okay? Land was accessible, easily accessible. But these days, land is not easily accessible. So, you know, in settlement geography, we talked about land reform and whatnot, right? So some of the sugarcane farmers who had sugarcane farms, their farms are being taken away. Yes, their farms are being taken away. I remember that the apartheid era kind of gave land to people whom it didn't belong to. Okay, I'm quoting someone's statement here. Don't get me political, but basically, the apartheid era caused some of the farmers to own the land while it's not theirs. So to correct the injustices of the past, the Land Reform Act, trying to restitute the land, some of the farmers are losing their farming land. Basically, the farmers that we had in 2000, compared to the farmers that we have in 2023, there's been a general decrease because some of the land has been stripped away. So those land reform policies have led to a loss of land for what? For many farmers, because most of the farmers are white farmers. Okay. Now, yeah, non-racist comment. Most of the farmers are white farmers. So due to land reform policies, they have been a loss of land because other people have claimed that land, and then now they cannot be able to produce sugar anymore. Hence, it is a general decrease. So you can mention that as well, that we are having land reform policies, right? We're having land reform policies. These land reform policies have led to a loss of farming land, not just loss of land. We're talking about the land that is used to farm sugarcane here, all right? So the land that the farmers used to farm their sugarcane back then in 2000 has been stripped away by what? By these land reform policies. Please tell me what do you honestly think about this whole land reform thing. Is it benefiting the economy, or is it actually destroying the economy? Please tell me what you think in the comments as someone who's old, because you're in grade 12, of course. So basically, land reform policies have led to a loss of land. There is a loss of farming land, basically. Loss of farming land. There are many other things that you can say here, guys. Not that these are the only answers, but make sure that you follow this command in marks. It's 1 mark. It's one answer for 2 marks. Okay, 1 answer for 2 marks. So don't get me wrong when I wrote 2 answers here. I'm just giving you a bonus one. But basically, there are many others that you can think of. There are many others that you can think of, such as we can talk about the development. There's been rapid development in urbanizations ever since 2000 until 2023. So basically, as more urbanization is happening, as more people, as the urban areas are expanding, when there is urban growth and urban expansion and all of that, what is actually happening there? The people who had the land for farming are going to lose the land for farming, because now we need to develop an urban area. So the development that is rapidly happening is also stripping away the farmland as well. There are many other things that you can think of. You can think of natural disasters. There's been even, okay, natural disasters such as drought. I'm sure you explain it. There are natural disasters such as drought, which lower the sugarcane production, because basically we know that sugarcane requires what? It requires rain, enough rainfall, adequate rainfall, as well as good temperatures as well. All right. So you can talk about temperatures as well. You can talk about unreliable rainfall. I'm giving you all of those points. You need to, it's your responsibility to now explain them. But basically, there's been a decrease in the annual rainfall, basically in the country. So basically, that is quite slowed down the sugarcane production. So now let's go to 2.3.3. 2.3.3 now says, discuss why the 2 provinces mentioned in the infographic are favorable for sugarcane farming. Look at this. So the 2 provinces that we have here is KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. So those 2 provinces are the best provinces for sugarcane farming. So it means there are certain factors in those 2 provinces that make them most suitable for you to farm sugarcane. I've already told you that basically sugarcane requires rainfall. So it means in Mpumalanga and in KZN, there's what? There's adequate rainfall for sugarcane that would promote sugarcane farming. You can see this is two answers for 2 marks. That 2 times 2 simply means 2 answers for 2 marks. The 1 times 2, it means 1 answer for 2 marks. The 1 times 1 here in the marks, it means 1 answer for 1 mark. Please know how to interpret the geography codes. These are the codes that we use here. So basically, this is 2 answers. You need to write 2 points, and then those 2 points must be each worth 2 marks. You must be able to explain them in such a way that you will deserve the 2 marks. So why are these 2 provinces favorable for sugarcane farming? There is adequate rainfall, because remember that basically KZN is next to the Indian Ocean. KZN is more like a coastal province because it is next to the Indian Ocean. So basically, we know that there's adequate annual rainfall, average rainfall there in KZN. as I'm recording this video, as a matter of fact, it is raining as I'm in KZN right now. It is raining and I'm recording the video. So there is proper evidence, unless if you want me guys to take a camera and show you. But I'm telling you, believe me, basically there is adequate rainfall throughout the year in KZN. We don't really need to wait for summer so that it can rain. Nah. Even in winter, you can just see, ha ha ha, it's already raining out there. So basically, there is adequate rainfall, which actually promote the production of sugarcane. So you can talk about adequate rainfall. Pela, when you explain it, you won't write like me here. I'm just writing short points. There is adequate rainfall. Normal, there is enough. Adequate simply means enough, right? There is enough average annual rainfall. Or you can say that there is enough rainfall throughout the year. So adequate rainfall throughout the year. It is not seasonal. Basically, rain falls at any time here in KZN, especially in KZN. Mpumalanga, yes, sometimes, but most likely in KZN, there is adequate rainfall throughout the year. So these two provinces, they've got adequate rainfall throughout the year, which actually favors people to be able to produce sugarcane there. And then the other thing that you can talk about is the temperature. Remember, the temperature that is the most suitable for sugarcane farming, it is a warmer temperature. Sugarcane cannot grow in places that are cold. That's why there are no sugarcane farms that I know of in Cape Town. But in KZN and Mpumalanga, the temperatures there are quite warm, especially because remember that KZN is next to the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean has got the warm Mozambique current, right? So the warm Mozambique current actually blows off some warm air into the region. So basically, KZN throughout the year, it doesn't really get that much cold. You'll never hear someone complaining that much of it cold in KZN. That person would be lying to you, I'm telling you. The place that is cold is Joburg. I know Joburg can go up to -6 degrees Celsius. And shout out if you're in Joburg and write down in the comments what is the current temperature right now. But basically, in KZN and in Mpumalanga, the temperatures there, they are warm. Okay, so the average temperatures in the land are warm. So they are average, the average temperatures are warm. So basically, there are higher average temperatures. So we can say that it is quite warmer in KZN. Okay, but it must be worth too much. Okay, so don't just shorten your answer or something like that. So the average temperatures in KZN as well as in Mpumalanga, they are warmer throughout the year. There are many other things, guys. You need to know that KZN, I'm now talking about KZN alone, but basically even in Mpumalanga as well, most of the land in KZN and Mpumalanga, it is still fertile. It is not desertified. Okay, there's fertile land. There's access to fertile land. If I start farming something else, because I already have another farm. Okay, so if I start farming something else right now in KZN, what will happen? It will be able to start growing and everything would go well because there is enough fertile land. So basically, there's an availability of fertile land in KZN and in Mpumalanga. You can talk more, you can talk of many things there. There are many things that favor sugarcane production that we find in these two provinces. Fertile land, there is good temperatures, even the transport infrastructure is perfect there because basically you know that the Durban Pinetown industrial region has got clear roads. Okay, so those roads do not have potholes like mhlampe your dusty roads. No, sorry, but basically our roads do not have potholes. So basically, the good transport infrastructure that is both in KZN and in Mpumalanga, it makes it favorable for us to be able to start farming sugarcane because basically, as we farm sugarcane, we can be able to transport it. So it actually increases it allows us to move and sell our sugarcane to our markets. Basically, you can mention all of those other factors that can favor sugarcane that are found in these two provinces. Now let's go to 2.3.4. So these were 2 marks per question. Now 2.3.4. Now 2.3.4 now says in a paragraph, okay? So in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, when I do my videos, I don't do paragraphs. I don't write in paragraphs due to space constraints. And I hate paragraphs, by the way, but you don't have to hate paragraphs. You need to write using paragraphs in the exam. So please never make a mistake and write anything else. In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, grade 12, explain the importance of sugarcane production to the South African economy. Right, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines. This doesn't mean you must really reach 8 lines. We actually need 4 points. If you can look at the marking guideline there, this is 4 questions for 4 answers or 4 points. For how many marks? For 2 marks. It's 4 by 2, 4 times 2. The first number there, it represents the amount of answers or amount of points that you should give, and then the second, it tells you the marks that each point is worth. So here, this is 4 points for 2 marks each. So this makes it 8 marks. So you should write 4 points, 2 marks each in a paragraph. If you see you haven't reached 8 lines, continue writing more points. Even if you write 8 points in those 8 lines, continue writing it. The marker will only stop marking after 8 lines in the paragraph. So in case you get the other points wrong, the other ones you will get right. Oshama marks, then you pass. That's what I want, and probably that's what you want as well. So now, done with the questioning, explain the importance of sugarcane production into the South African economy. When I talk about the economic advantage, we're talking about anything that is to benefit the gross domestic product, benefit the economy, create employment opportunities. Don't tell me about benefiting people. Those are social benefits. Social benefits can also be economic benefits, but when I talk about the economy, we're talking about how the country is benefiting. When people are getting employment, the country is benefiting. So basically, the importance of sugarcane farming in South Africa. The first one, employment, is always opposite. Basically, the sugarcane production, it kind of gives a lot of jobs to many people. As we've already seen from the infographic, 65,000 direct jobs, 270,000 indirect jobs. So that in total is a lot of jobs, 300 and something thousand. Okay, so that is a lot of jobs. So this is a lot of jobs, and it constitutes about 11% of the total agricultural workforce, according to this infographic. So basically, what I'm trying to say here, there's a lot of employment opportunities that are created. Basically, this will reduce the unemployment rate in South Africa. That's how you explain it. So here, there is a creation of employment opportunities. So there is a creation of what? Employment opportunities. What are those employment opportunities? Guys, the sugarcane production creates a lot of jobs. There are people who are harvesting the sugarcane. There are people who are planting the sugarcane. There are people who are processing the sugarcane. There are people who are transporting the sugarcane, logistic companies. There are many jobs that are being created here at this point. So never think it's only about farming and harvesting only. It's actually a multiply effect. Whenever you have multiply effect, simply means that when this sugarcane goes to the secondary sector to be processed, that's creating jobs there. And then when I'm selling the sugarcane, it's also creating a job for me as well. So basically, there's creation of employment opportunities for the skilled and the unskilled workers, and this actually reduces the unemployment rate. Reduces, you write it, unemployment rate, or it decreases. You can say it decreases, or it reduces unemployment rate. That benefits the economy. You need to tell us what is the economy benefiting from that. When more of the country's population is working, the economy is benefiting because the people that are working, they are paying tax. So basically, the economy benefits from that. So anything that will give tax to the economy, it will definitely be an economic advantage. Now, what is the other thing that this whole thing of a sugarcane farming can contribute? The gross domestic product. a gross domestic product, you know that the gross domestic product is more like the total value of all of the goods and services that are produced in a country within a year. So the gross domestic product of a country is actually increased by this sugarcane production. If you didn't know, KZN, it is the second most contributing province to the GDP of South Africa. Gauteng province is number one, KZN is number two. Okay, so basically you can see that this sugarcane farming here is not only for fun, it's also benefiting the economy. So it contributes to the gross domestic product of the country. So it contributes, you're right there, it contributes to the GDP, or yeah, the gross domestic product of the country. And basically when the gross domestic product of the country is actually kind of is high, it means there is economic growth. So you can say that this is going to result in economic growth. But sometimes the markers can give you 4 marks for both the points. So sometimes if you think you cannot really support your point that much further, try to put a full stop and write the other point. Okay, but basically you can say it contribute to the gross domestic product. And when the cost, you don't say end, you don't use the word end. I'm just telling you here that when the gross domestic product of the country is now high, then it means what? It means within it there will be economic growth that is being stimulated. There's many other things that you can say here, so I'll just give you the points, then you explain the points on your own. We can talk about the development of infrastructure. You know, guys, I've already told you that sugarcane needs to be transported by logistic companies. For me to be able, after farming my sugarcane, it needs to be transported, go to the harbor, and being exported to wherever I'm exporting it. Or maybe I need to give it to a company that produces sugar, such as Selati, such as a Tongati, or such as Hulet's Sugar. All of those are companies that are producing sugar, or that are processing sugar in the secondary sector. So I need some infrastructure. So basically, this sugarcane production, it leads to the development of good transport infrastructure. So there is a development of infrastructure, not only the transport infrastructure and any other infrastructure that is needed, or that is involved in this sugarcane production thing. There are many other things that you can say, guys. It's not only limited to 4 points. That's why I say continue writing the points. Okay, just continue writing the points. Continue writing the points until you feel like you have had enough. Okay, but as long as it's within 8 lines, they will mark it if it's correct. So what other thing can the economy benefit from this whole? Basically, the people that work in the company, they need to have skills. We cannot just have people working in the company without having the skills to work in that company. So basically, this rapid sugarcane production in South Africa, it actually leads to the development of skills, because people need to develop skills so that they can work in companies. We have got engineers that are needed to be able to do stuff in companies. We have got logistics companies that are needed to do stuffs in companies. We have got people who manage the flow of goods. There are many people that need skilled workers that we need to be able to do this sugarcane production. So basically, it leads to the development of skills. So it leads to the development of skills, and then you can further explain it, okay, so that the people can be able to work in those companies, because they now have skills to do so. Okay, there are many other points that you can mention, but I've already mentioned my 4 here. Think of any others and comment down the comment section below. If you would, if you want to. If you don't, go and sleep. I'm joking. So now let's look at this Eastern Cape, September 2025. All right, now cool. So refer to the map and the extract below based on South Africa's sugarcane farming. It is still based on sugarcane Nakona. I think we'll be quicker on this one because most of the points will kind of become the same. Now, this is you are given a map and an extract. You need to look at both carefully. First of all, for you to understand the map, you need to look at the key of the map. The key of the map has got the following symbols. The first one, you've got sugarcane plantations. These dotted lines, you can see them from the map, these dotted lines from the map. According to the key, it shows the sugarcane plantations, or it shows where sugarcane farms are, or where sugarcane plantations are. Where is my sugarcane farm? My sugarcane farm is exactly here near Richards Bay. It's just in Felixton near Richards Bay. I'm a rich businessman and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah, you take time to digest that later, but just know that when you come this side around here, you will find me there driving my luxurious Lamborghini. So now these are all sugarcane plantations here and here and here. And then now this dot, this black dot, it shows the sugar mill. The sugar mill is basically that company, that industry that processes what? It processes the sugar cane. Most of the times it processes it to sugar. Sugar cane can be used to form other products, okay? But basically the main product that I know of is sugar, since it's sugar cane. So basically there's a sugar mill here, there's a sugar mill, there's a sugar mill. Okay, what's the significance of a sugar mill being closer to people like this, or being closer to the sugar plantations? You can see that the sugar plantations, the dotted ones, and this dot that is black is a sugar mill. They are closer to one another because basically when people are done farming the sugar cane, they need to transport the sugar cane to the sugar mill so that it can be processed, right? So basically they need to be closer to that industry. So it's more like this is a market oriented industry because it is located closer to its market. You need to analyze such things, guys. Take your time, all right? As I'm taking, see, this video is already 31 minutes and I'm not bothered. If you don't want to watch, go and sleep. So now, this is a river. So the third part of the key is a river. So the river, basically, you know what a river is? Just a stream having some water there. So we have a river here near the sugar plantations. We have another river here near another sugar cane plantation. There are multiple rivers near sugarcane plantations. This is something significant as well. So now, let's read this case study quick and answer the question. Now it says there's been a significant decline in sugarcane production in South Africa, something that we just saw in the KZN paper. One of the most significant contributing factors of this downward trend has been the introduction of the health promotion levy, which is commonly known as the sugar tax. So basically there is a tax that people have to pay so that they can continue this sugarcane production. So basically that is demotivating people. So you can count that as one of the factors that has decreased the sugarcane production. So this health promotion levy, which is commonly known as the sugar tax, it was implemented in 2018, 2018. So the reduced domestic demand for sugar has seen sugar sales decline by 250,000 tons. Jesus. 250 tons. There's 250 tons decline or a decrease in the domestic demand. Domestic demand, basically the demand of sugarcane in South Africa or around the areas in South Africa. So they've started declining. They don't want the sugarcane anymore. Studies estimate that approximately 16,000 jobs have been lost, which includes 9,700 among cane growers alone. You see, guys, that this sugarcane farming and sugarcane production is giving a lot of South Africans jobs. So basically, 16,000 jobs have been lost ever since 2018 until the time of this article. 16,000 jobs. Those are people that are feeding their families, but they're losing jobs due to this sugar tax, due to this health promotion levy. So now it says here, the levy poses a threat to the future viability of sugarcane farming, particularly for small-scale farmers. This levy or this sugar tax that they're doing is threatening small-scale farmers the most in the rural KZN, in the rural KwaZulu-Natal province. These are who represent the majority of South Africa's 22,000 sugarcane growers. So basically, among these 22,000 sugarcane growers, most of those are small scale sugarcane farmers. They are not large scale. They don't have machinery. You still remember small scale, they don't have machinery. They don't have all those fancy stuff. They are just farming within their confined smaller space. And these people are losing their job because this levy is posing a threat to them because they're just, you see. So basically this is kind of affecting the small scale farmers. Now it says from the map 2.3.1, from the map, identify two physical or natural factors that promote sugarcane farming in South Africa or in KwaZulu Natal. Oh yeah, too physical from the map. Guys, let me highlight here. The most important thing here is that from the map. Okay, guys, siyazi ukuthi you guys are geniuses, ningwele, warawara. You know all of this. You know ukuthi this promotes sugarcane farming, but they say it from the map. Don't tell us theory, something that I have told you. No, look at the map and tell me what are the two physical or natural factors, something that is natural, something that is physical, that is not made by a human being, that promotes sugarcane farming. So now let's look at the map and analyze it all together. So remember in the map, we saw that the key says there are sugarcane plantations, the key says there's a sugar mill, and there's a river. Which one is natural just from the key? Is the river, obviously. You can see that here we're having a river. A river, guys, is not just there uklobisa. It's not just there for fun. The river there, it's a source of water for the sugarcane farmers. Basically, it serves as a source of water. So it favors or it promotes sugarcane farming in KwaZulu-Natal because there are lots of rivers in KwaZulu-Natal since it's closer to the sea. All rivers are leading to the sea. There are many, many, many rivers. Okay, so we can talk about that because the physical is a natural feature. So let's go and say 2.3.1. The first natural feature or first physical feature I can see there, it's rivers. Well, the question says 2 by 1, so it means just 2 marks. Okay, it's 2 questions, right? 2 points for 1 mark each. Yes, two points for 1 mark each. So the first point there is a reverse. It's just 1 mark. You're not explaining anything, right? And then the other natural feature. What other natural feature can you be able to see just from this map? Natural feature. I know that you guys are tempted to pick sugar mill as something that promotes sugarcane farming in KwaZulu-Natal. Angali is correct. Those sugar mills or those sugar processing companies, they do promote sugarcane farming in KwaZulu-Natal, but they say here they want the natural factors or the physical factors, natural, something that has not been made by a human. If they just said identify 2 factors that promote sugarcane farming, you would say there's a market there, the sugar mill, it buys the sugarcane. So the closeness to the market is a factor as well that promotes. But for this one, we pick the natural ones, the physical ones only. So now what other one can you say? Okay, let's look at this. The map also further shows this thing. In case you didn't see it, it's written here subtropical latitude. You guys all did grade 11, so I'm not going to explain what a subtropical latitude is. Basically, just going to give you a brief because I kind of love you and whatnot. Yeah. So subtropical, this subtropical latitudes, it does help because you can see that KZN is located between the 27 degrees south of the equator and the 31 degrees south of the equator. So it's between 27 degrees south and 31 degrees south of the equator. We know that at the subtropical latitude, we find what temperatures do we find there? Basically, this subtropical latitude at this range in KZN, we know that would expect to find what? We would expect to find heavy rainfall there. It's something from the map. You need to remember the subtropical climate. How does the climate look like in those subtropical latitudes? So you can mention that because you are seeing that from the map. So the subtropical latitude. So the subtropical latitudes, KZN is situated between 27 degrees south and 31 degrees south, which is the subtropical latitude, something that you can see from the map. What other thing can you see from the map? It's closer to the Indian Ocean. That's something as well. Something naturalized, right? The fact that it is closer to the Indian Ocean. What do we know about a place that is a coastal area or something that's a place that is situated closer to an ocean? Definitely it's going to be a humid area. So basically this proximity or this closeness to the Indian Ocean. So you can mention that you can see the Indian Ocean. Cool.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
Now 2.3.2, according to the extract, what has caused the domestic demand for sugar to decline? According to the extract, so what has caused the decrease or the decline in the production or in the demand, the domestic demand of sugar, for sugar? In this case, we've already read and said that is this sugar tax or this health promotion levy. So you can just say the sugar tax. It's just 1 mark, one question for one answer for 1 mark. So it's just sugar tax. So this taxing, those people who are producing sugar, they're now paying taxes now, this health promotion levy. So basically, it's causing a decline. And then what is the negative economic impact? What's the negative economic impact of a reduced domestic demand of sugarcane on small-scale sugarcane farmers? We've already said that the small-scale sugarcane farmers are kind of receiving a threat from this levy, from this sugar tax that is being promoted by this health promotion levy. So how would that impact the small-scale farmers? Basically, if you're a small-scale farmer and then you farm your sugarcane, where will you sell it? Where will you sell it if there's no demand domestically? You know that the small scale farmers, they hardly export things. If you're a small scale farmer, you won't really export, you won't really sell to international markets, you sell locally. So if the local demand or the domestic demand for sugar is declining, so it means what? There is no support. So no one will buy your thing. So you can say that using your beautiful English, but basically a there is less support, okay, or there is a reduction in the sales, in the sugarcane sales. You can use your fancy English, but I've already told you no one will buy from the farmers because there's a decline, right? So there's a reduction in what? The reduction in sales. And say reduction in sales. What other thing can that give effect? What other effect can we get from that? Obviously, basically, when there's a reduction, basically on the sales, when the sugarcane is not being sold anymore, it will perish. Yes, it will perish because sugarcane is perishable. If you just put umoba in front of the sun, and it will just perish there. You cannot use it after a long time. So basically, the sugarcane can perish. You will explain it because it's 2 marks, right? Sugarcane can perish or it is perishable, right? And then if there's a sugar cane perishing, basically there's a reduction in the sales. So it means that the profits are also going to decrease. So you can say there's a general decrease in profits there. So there are many other things that you can mention here, but make sure that you explain your answer. You explain it. This is 2 points for 2 marks. Here I'm just giving an idea. When you're gonna put it in a statement, that's your responsibility. 2.3.4, we've already done it in the KZN paper. I'm not repeating it. What is the economic importance of sugarcane farming to the South African economy? Is the exact same question. You will give the exact same answers. A goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video on F-Metrics. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to also stay tuned.